Welcome to 5 Minutes with Father. This is a new idea that we are exploring to answer questions by our parishioners. And the first question comes today from Brenda Castor, and she asked the question, what is the history of the SSPX? Now, the SSPX has been in the news lately because on July 2nd of this year, they consecrated 4 bishops against the order of our Holy Father, and therefore they were given automatic excommunication for going against the Holy Father's order. But let's talk about who they are. First, the SSPX is known as the Priestly Society of St. Pius X. That's where they get the initials PSSPX. So how is that formed? Now, we have to go back to 1970. The Second Vatican Council took place from 1962 to 1965. At that council, there was a small group of very traditional bishops who were in major disagreement over the first of the constitutions that was promulgated by the council, known as the Constitution on the Sacred Liturgy. They felt, led by Bishop Marcel Lefebvre, that these bishops felt that the council was going a little too far in its reform, especially in the Mass, and they did not feel that the new Mass, what we call the Novus Ordo, was actually valid. So they wanted to keep the traditional Latin Mass that we had been doing for centuries. In 1969, Marcel Lefebvre, the bishop, founded a seminary with the approval of the local bishop in France. He later transferred that seminary to Econ, Switzerland, where they presently reside, and the priests that were in that seminary were only trained in the Latin Mass. In 1976, he stated that he would be ordaining several men to the priesthood from his seminary. But because Pope Paul had stated that the SSPX was suppressed because of their suspicious activity, that he was not allowed to ordain these men. But Bishop Lefebvre went ahead anyway and ordained them. He said that this was not a valid suspension, but he would not stop. So he continued for another decade. In June of 1987, he said that he would have to give himself successors. He was the only bishop in the SSPX church, so he wanted to consecrate 8 bishops. On June 30th, 1988, he set that ordination for his bishops. Pope John Paul II wrote him on June 9th. He said, "With a paternal heart, I exhort you to renounce your plan, which, if it takes place, can only appear to be a schismatic act whose theological consequences and penalties are known to you." Well, he was sent the formal letter saying that if he carried out the ordination, he would be automatically excommunicated. He went ahead anyway. The next day, he was sent a decree of excommunication. Now, you have to understand that the church did not impose excommunication on anyone. You are imposing the act upon yourself by an act of defiance to the Holy Father. Now, in 2009, as a result of a plea from the SSPX bishop to Pope Benedict lifted the excommunication and urged them to come back into full communion with the church. They did not. In 2015, which Pope Francis had deemed the Year of Mercy, Pope Francis gave the faculties to the SSPX priests to actually hear confessions validly and also to witness marriages, with the hope that they would encourage them to further dialogue, but it did not. On June 29th, 2026, Pope Leo, having learned that the SSPX were going to consecrate 4 new bishops, actually asked them not to go ahead and ordain these men. But on July 2nd, in defiance to Pope Leo, these bishops in Econ, Switzerland went ahead and ordained 4 bishops. Their actions then resulted in automatic communication, just as before. Of course, they say that the excommunication or schism is not valid because they had just cause. But one cannot create a just cause. The just cause has to come from the church itself. So as a result, the bishops and priests of the Society of Pope Pius X are excommunicated. Not their administration of the sacraments, or their administration of the sacraments are not valid. The faithful, and if they have full knowledge of this excommunication and adhere to the Society of Pope Pius X, they too may be considered excommunicated. But we encourage the faithful who have been attending SSPX Masses to attend Mass at St. Mary's Church in Oswego or Transfiguration Church in Syracuse, where they can attend the Latin Mass as they are used to. They are offered every weekend in our diocese, and we only wish them to be in full communion with us.